Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. If you haven't hit subscribe already, please do. It really helps the channel grow and means I can hopefully bring you some more content of Disney parks and things like that. But in the meantime, I wanted to do a little video about our recent trip and our first trip taking a toddler. We took our 2-year-old at the time, literally just turned 2 days before we flew out, so we took him over to Disneyland Paris and we had a great time. We spent 5 nights 6 days there and stayed at the Santa Fe Hotel. If you want to go and check out that trip and our vlogs from that trip, then please have a look on our channel for that playlist of Disneyland Paris April 2025. So whilst we haven't got any new trips booked for a little while, hopefully we're going to go again next year, but don't know just yet. So in the meantime, I thought I'd do a little tips video for you guys if you're planning a trip with a toddler or it's your first trip ever. Hopefully this kind of video here is going to be able to guide you in what you're going to need to take, what your kind of plan of action might be, and kind of what we found were the most helpful tips during our visit. You don't have to take them, and if you have different ones or you have more tips that you want to add, please feel free to add those in the comments below. Our first tip will be around the flight. So we had a flight out in the morning from Bristol to Charles de Gaulle. So if you don't know, we live down in Cornwall and Bristol is still like 3 hours away, but that is our closest airport that flies to France. And if you go back to our other trips, we have driven, so we took the ferry before, and we've also taken the train up to London. We did a London for a few days, and then we went over to Disneyland Paris on the Eurostar. So if you do want to check out those playlists from the last few years, please do. But this was our first time flying, so we flew over to Charles de Gaulle, and so we wanted to stay over in the hotel the night before. I don't rate the hotel for the price that it cost us, so we stayed in the Hilton, literally opposite the terminal. The food was awful. For the price we paid, the food was awful. We didn't actually sleep either. If you want to check that vlog out, our travel day vlog, it really does show exactly how much we didn't sleep. What I do recommend is staying over though. That was really helpful, staying over the night before, so travelling, doing the car journey and travelling out of in the morning, coming out of the hotel, crossing the road and getting straight on the plane pretty much. It meant we didn't really have to worry about traffic or any of that kind of thing. So our flight was with EasyJet and we did pay to book our seats all together because I didn't want to risk us being split up, and also I wanted 3 seats together. As I said, we were taking our just 2-year-old, so he qualified for his own seat, and so I wanted those 3 seats together. We took 3 bags. We took snacks, toys and comforters, everything that you can imagine. In fact, we overpacked. We definitely didn't need everything that we had. So don't forget, with EasyJet, if you're traveling with a under 2, you also get this. I think it's under 5. I think there might be some variations on that, but do check their terms and conditions on their website. The child gets then their own bag, so a nappy bag or toy bag as we had. You can take up to 2 items that go down in hold. We took our travel buggy, which folds quite nicely, and we bought a bag for it, and I recommend getting that bag. We got the so we actually have 2 travel buggies. We have one at the grandparents' house and one that lives with us, and the bag we got actually fits the travel pram for the grandparents' buggy, and it just slots in. It's ideal. But we filled the basket at the bottom of your pan, we filled it with our coats because we were going in April. We didn't know if it was going to be cold, raining. We did check the weather. It did say it was likely to be nice, but we were going for 6 days, you know, weather changes, and I wanted to be prepared. So I packed our waterproof coats in the bottom of the pram, folded it all down and slipped it into the bag, which meant that we could take extra stuff. So definitely utilize that. I mean, it's 20-25 quid I think I paid for the bag, but totally worth it. So definitely look at getting your pram if you are taking one. I do recommend. I would probably take a pram up to a 4 or 5-year-old, to be honest. If you're the miles you do around Disney, even if your child doesn't really go in a pram now, you might have a 3-year-old that really doesn't go in a pram at all. Even ours doesn't really go in the pram anymore, but it's a godsend even if you just want to dump some stuff on. What we did do this time, which we didn't do when we flew out with our little one before, so we had a holiday earlier on, about 6 months before this, where we did take the pram through right to when we boarded, and then we packed the pram up and sent it into hold as we were boarding the plane. We didn't do that this time. We decided to put the pram straight into hold door, and I absolutely recommend that. If you have got a toddler that is running around, is moving lots, it was one less thing to think about. When we travelled before, we travelled with grandparents, so luckily we did have an extra pair of hands, and we needed it. We were there between the two of us trying to get him out of the pram and our backpacks and the nappy bag, and then trying to put the pram in the bag and all of the things. It was so stressful, and we didn't want that this time. And because we were staying in the hotel just across, we didn't have to rush to the airport either. We literally rocked up about an hour and a half before we boarded. To get through security, we went and popped and got some snacks and ran around. We looked at the shops, got a drink and boarded. It was ideal. One of the things that people don't know, and I didn't know, that through security you can take fluid. For your child, you can take fluid. So if you are breastfeeding, or you've made formula, or you want the pre-made formula because that's easier than needing to get hold of hot water and things like that, you can take that through security. They even, I think when we flew back from Ibiza, we had like a half a bottle of water, like a big litre bottle of water, and I was trying to finish it, and she was like, no, take it through. They were really happy, so it didn't even have to be closed. Well, not in Ibiza anyway. I had a dairy-free yogurt that I'd got from the hotel in the morning, that he wasn't really awake and didn't really want it yet, and I thought, okay, I'll just keep it, and I'd forgotten it was in our bag, and so I did get stopped and they did check everything, but that she was like, oh, it's a yogurt. I was like, yeah, he's dairy free, it's a dairy free yogurt, I'm not going to get that over there. And they were like, yeah, sure, fine, crack on. So that was quite good. Took all of that stuff, didn't need it. He slept the entire flight. It is only like a 55 minute hour flight. It really doesn't, almost as soon as you're up, you're coming back down again. It is really quick. That might not be the same if you're flying from further up north, but from Bristol to Toddler, it was so easy. Transfers. A lot of people ask this question around transfers. What's the best way to get from the airport to Disney? We took the train. We had heard the train was fast, and we thought, yeah, fast is good. It was reliable, so that was what we wanted. Remember, we had 1 suitcase, a pram with the toddler in, and 3 backpacks. That meant getting on the train was slightly difficult, because again, we had to put the pram down, find a slot to put the luggage, and your assigned seat. We bought our ticket as when we got there. We didn't just in case our flight was delayed. It was quick and easy. From the terminal to the train station, 10-minute walk. And then we waited for our train. They've got a Starbucks there, so I've got a Starbucks. And then we got on the train. It was easy. People are helpful. A lot of people say, oh, the French are really rude. No, actually, people were trying to help. We did only buy 2 seats, 2 adult seats, and then the child sits on top. I think it's up to like 3 or 4. It's free for them, but they do have to share your seat. To be honest, it was cramped. If it was any more than 10-15 minutes, I would have been a bit annoyed, but it is only like a 9-minute train ride. I think we waited on the train longer for the doors to shut and everyone to get on than we did actually be on the train. There are lifts. A lot of people said, oh, it took ages to wait for the lift. It did when we came back. When we were coming home, everyone gets off the train, and then there was only 1 lift to go up into the main train station, and then to go on to the terminal. That did take a minute, but again, everyone was really helpful. We all squeezed in. There was a few of us with kids, and it was fine. It was a nice experience waiting for a lift for like 5 minutes. It really wasn't that long. Next thing, so we arrived at Disney. Yay, Disney! I'm so sad. I want to go back so much. But we arrived at Disney and we got rid of our suitcase. So I did pay for the Magical Express suitcase bag drop off thing. We got this included when we did an all-inclusive stay before. When we did the Eurostar, it was all included. I paid extra for it this time. It costs me about, I think it was about £33 something, and I added it 8 days before, and so I rang. It was one of those jobs where you just mean to keep doing it. Anyway, I rang and I was like, any chance I can do that? And she was like, yeah, but if you'd rang tomorrow you wouldn't have got it, so just a reminder, don't leave it too late. So I booked that 8 days out. It wasn't that expensive, definitely worth it. So we dropped off a suitcase and we then went off to the park. We did utilise the lockers at the park. For, remember I said we had like 3 bags, rucksacks of stuff, and so we dumped off. I thought we were going to get a great deal because it said on the plaque it was like €9 per locker, and I thought, oh great, we've got, you know, all in there for 1 locker. And then we ended up paying for like 3 lockers because we had 3 bags and they didn't put them all in 1 locker. So kind of wish we'd thought about that a little bit more. With the express baggage, on our way home I packed one of the rucksacks with a bunch of stuff and I left it on the suitcase, and he added an additional tag to it and just said, yeah fine, like there wasn't, I didn't have to pay extra for that bag. So I sent the suitcase and a rucksack and they were happy about that. And again, it meant that we can go enjoy the park all day, come to the train station and our suitcase is there. It meant I didn't have to drag it down the walkway. Where did we go wrong? Our first mistake, if you have watched our vlog series, we pushed too hard. We were all excited, little man was excited, we were having so much fun. We were on rides, we were just like, wow, castle, wow, everything was just so magical. I thought, he's had a nearly an hour nap on the flight, he'll be fine. But what I did fail to kind of realise was actually travelling is tiring, even if you do sleep all the way through it. And we were up early, even our flight was at 7:30, so that was up earlier than we would normally get up. And of course we slept in a hotel the night before, so not necessarily the best sleep for him, because he did sleep even though we didn't, but he did sleep. But of course in a hotel it's not always the same as you're in bed. We pushed too hard and we found the hard way when we were waiting for the parade. We were about half hour out from waiting for the parade. I thought, we'll get a nice spot, he'll be fine, like we've got snacks, we've got toys, we've got iPad, like everything, we will try it. And within about 15 minutes we just realised he wasn't going to settle. He was really upset and really just needed to nap. But we'd kind of pushed, I think, too far, thinking he'll be all right, he'll be all right. We made that mistake the first day. The second day we kind of caught it and realised, actually, let's not push it today. Sometimes even, you know, they're having so much fun, they don't want to miss out. So even trying to get the nap in was sometimes difficult. But honestly, our little one napped in the pram. Never naps in the pram before, like just doesn't, unless he's really exhausted. But he napped in the pram. If it had been later in the year, I would have been more worried about like the heat of being in the pram, because he does like something over his face. So I do recommend, if you're going any time sort of from mid-April through to September, take one of those pram fans. They're ideal. They like wrap onto the pram and then you can recharge them. I think they're about a tenner on Amazon. Recommend getting one of those, absolutely. But yeah, he napped and that was our downtime. If you think we're going from morning till night, he's getting a good nap in, but we also need to remember to rest ourselves. So that's where we would go and get a drink. So you'll see on our vlog of us having a little cheers with a beer, with a sleeping toddler in the pram. But you know, we're on holiday. We would go and find a nice sort of shaded spot, or a spot where we could put him in the shade and then have a little bit of sunshine ourselves and have a sit down and cheers with a beer. And we would try and time that for sort of around 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We found the park was so much busier in that sort of afternoon period, so from about like lunchtime through to sort of late afternoon the parade would start, and then after that the park seems to empty, or people are going off to get dinner and then going to get their spot for the fireworks, and that was our ideal time. We got on ride after ride after ride after ride within, I think the longest we waited maybe 10-15 minutes at that time of night. We would just get almost walk on straight onto every ride. So that's why we utilised that nap time at around sort of 1 till about 2:33. We went out, as I said, beginning of April, just after the clocks changed here in the UK, and then utilised the time difference. So our toddler, who normally would wake up at 8 in the morning and go to bed at 7, now all of a sudden was waking up at 9:30, 10 and going to bed happily at 9, 9:30, and his nap had obviously gone with him through into the time difference there. I recommend that if you've got a toddler and you want them, you know, toddler doesn't stay up late, have a look at the time changes. So definitely don't do it the other way around if you're in October going. and you've got a toddler that you want to stay up late and has also got to go with that time change as well. But we utilise that time change to our benefit and to his benefit, so that he can make the most out of it that evening as well. So we did try, when we were in line, for him to not be running around so much, because it's really hard. They want to run around, they don't understand that there's a queue. You're not moving all the time, but you're also not stopped for very long either. That was really hard for him to have that concept. If it was a queue that we could see the ride at the end, that was hard, because he would be like, I want to go on the ride, and we're like, yeah, we're in the queue, but the ride's there, I want to get on the ride. We had to use a lot of distraction methods. So one of the things I recommend is a sling. So this isn't like a rucksack carrier for your child, this is a side sling. So you might have seen these advertised. If you do have a toddler, you might see them advertised all over your Facebook or social media. These are ideal. I don't think we would have managed our trip without this. It basically is a clip, clip that together, you pop it, so it does go one way better than the other, but you basically pop it over, slot your child, hang on a minute, let me get Doug, slot your child sort of in the hammocky bit here, and then on your hip, and then you can tighten it using that bit there. So you tighten them up and they sit on your hip very happily. We use this in all of those queues, all of those lines. So you can like loosen it off. I actually found I personally didn't like it on my shoulder, so I actually had it a little bit more underneath and would wear it more across my chest like that. I've got obviously more assets here to help me support that. And I found that was more comfortable. You can move it to the front, so I just loosened it off and then move him round if I needed him to be more up front for my back, and vice versa. I could have it more round the back here, just lifting this up a little bit more, and have that across more on the back there, sort of that way down. With a little bit of support with my other half holding him to sort of get that hammock under his bottom. So ideal. His little feet would come out here, feet would come out there, and be very happy. And I'm not ashamed to say we use screens. We've got a Disney obsessed child, and that includes watching the films as well. He loves Mickey Mouse, Goofy, all of that, and he wanted to watch them. That's what, you know, we're not doing anything else, so screens. I know that's not for everyone. You might have a different way to entertain your child, and that's absolutely fine. But for us, we felt that whilst he was in the queue, he was chilled, not wanting. We had a moment where he was running around playing with another little girl, and that ended up in an absolute tears and meltdown when he tried to run off into the queue, not understanding what the sort of why we were calling him back. And that ended up in a meltdown. So we just avoided that and had him slinged. If it was going to be a queue longer than a few minutes, or if it wasn't moving quickly, yeah, he would sit in that for an hour quite happily, in that in an hour. I think we waited for web slingers for about an hour and 10 minutes, and he sat in that the entire time. We know when you get your 3D glasses, he thought that was amazing, so that kept him kind of going for another 10 minutes or so. And he would just watch a film. His favourite film was Moana. Moana 2, I think we watched that like 17 times. Snacks as well, so we would make sure we had like our lounge flies, we'd carry, and we'd fill them with snacks. You know, when they do stop, they go, oh, I'm hungry. Drinks as well is another thing, making sure they've got drinks. Food and drink, we use mostly quick service. We made the decision that we weren't going to do too many sit down meals. We didn't want that pressure. Again, when you've got a toddler, you know what they can handle, you know what they're, you want them to behave all of the time, but actually there's going to be moments that are going to find more difficult. And so we preempted meal times. They're not always great at home, they're not always great when we go out, so we didn't want sit down meals. So we did quick service, and that was ideal because you could get your food straight away and eat, and then go and play again, go out back onto the rides. With the exception, we did do the Royal Banquet restaurant at the Disneyland Hotel, and that's a character meal, and we did the evening meal, and that meant we could eat and then either stay in the restaurant and watch the fireworks when they came on at 10, or what we did was actually ran downstairs at 9:45, we were right at the top of Main Street, right as you come in, and we watched them from there. You couldn't see the projections on the castle, you were so far away, but we could see fireworks, we could hear the music, we could dance, we had space. It was really magical, and for his first time seeing the fireworks, it was ideal. So going back to that character dinner, absolutely recommend. Yes, it is expensive for most people. I mean, we paid, I think it was 240 euros in total. It's like 100 euros per person, per adult. I think he was free, but we had family that wanted to give money as birthday gifts towards something for Disney, and so we had family that did contribute to that meal, which meant we could afford that. It meant we could see the characters, and I look back now and I look at the footage of our evening and how those interactions were so amazing. I think we had Pluto with us for like maybe 10 minutes in total. Goofy came round twice, Minnie came round twice, we saw Mickey. I don't think you get that type of interaction if you're waiting in a queue. You can wait in a queue for 2 hours to see Mickey, or you can pay extra to, you know, to skip queues, or well, you know, depending on what park you're in and what's going on. But yeah, you can pay the extra to do all of that, and that's what we paid for really. We paid for a meal, but really we paid for that experience. Having that one-to-one interaction with those characters was amazing. And the food was fine. I mean, it's buffet food, and it was late. We had a booking, I think our table was at 8:30. Food is food. As I'm vegan, and little one is like vegetarian with dairy free, so essentially vegan, and we were not hungry. We had so much food. It was delicious. It was probably like the only time we actually had fresh food, so I was quite happy. I think it was the first time I had like fresh salad. If you are thinking, oh my god, how am I going to do like the characters with a toddler, if you can afford it, or if you can get family to chip in, I recommend. And I recommend that late booking as well, which meant that we could just come straight out and see the fireworks. So water fountains, they do have water fountains in the park. However, we found like a couple weren't working. They were last time we went, they all worked, and we refilled and we were fine. However, these ones didn't, and I mean, some of the taps in the toilets do say drinking water. We just ended up using a lot of bottled water, which really irks me. I don't like using so much bottled water. I took refillable bottles, but we just struggled to really find drinking water in the parks at times. I know you can go down into the quick services and ask for water, and they'll give you like iced water, but again, it's not ideal, you know, when you've got somebody, oh, I'm just going to nip to the toilet, oh, refill the bottles. That's kind of what we always, like, we would tag team that. Having to go elsewhere to get water became quite difficult in the end. We did utilise the shop at the hotel, and we just got quite a few bottles of water every few days, and then refilled sort of from that. I was also conscious of little one drinking the water. I know it's probably safe, it's fine. We've never had a problem, and I was happy to drink the water there, not a problem. Didn't have any upset stomach from it. But I think you're always worried when you're taking a little one that you don't want them to get ill, and I think that I had that anxiety around that. So he did only drink bottled water the entire time we were there, and plenty of it. Making sure that we did have drinks available for him throughout the day was really important. And so snacks. What did we get snack wise? To be honest, we didn't really get any of the bought snacks other than the odd ice cream here and there. Like I said, we would have quick services and stuff like that. We packed stuff for little one, so we had in the suitcase, I brought loads of stuff that I knew he would like, and then we just sort of kind of went with that. What I did struggle with is getting fresh fruit. That would be one of the things, if you've got a toddler that loves fruit, it's really difficult. If I realised it was going to be that hard to get hold of, like a banana, I think I would have gone the first day and either got a taxi, or I don't know, looked into getting Uber Eats, or you know, whatever kind of app that was available in the area to get some shopping dropped off for us that just included some fresh fruit. It was so difficult to get hold of just a banana. In the quick service and stuff like that, they do lots of kid-friendly stuff, and they had apple slices and tomatoes, which we did utilise, in apple pouches, like the little apple sauce in a pouch that you squeeze. He hasn't had those since he was like 10 months old, bar the odd one here and there, but we ended up having those almost every single day. That was the only way he could get his fruit in. Our child eats like 8-9 portions of fruit a day, ranging from raspberries, strawberries, you know, you just couldn't get hold of that. We did get a banana in one of the cafe restaurants in the village, in Disney Village, and she was like, banana? And they were essentially show bananas, literally on show, in a basket with some oranges and apples, and we're like, yeah, we just want that banana. And she was like, oh, okay. Didn't know how to charge. I think we paid like €2 for a banana. Didn't know how to charge us, had to go and ask somebody if she could even sell it to us. And then when we went back, like I think it was like 2 days later, we went back to go and buy another because there was a bunch when there, and I wish I just bought them all. It was gone over, and she was like, I can't sell you that. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Get fruit. If you need fruit, just order it in, or I don't know, look into getting some shopping sent to you on the day that you arrive. Other than that, we really didn't have anything more than ice creams. We had dairy-free ice creams throughout. I even got like a frozen, it was like real mango, like a proper slice of mango, and it had been frozen and on a stick. That was amazing. That was so nice. Toys. That's the last thing I think I've got on my list of tips and tricks. Just avoided. We had we just didn't have the budget. We wanted to go into Disney. That was our priorities. Go to Disney, enjoy some food, see characters, introduce our child to being a Disney person. Like, we are absolutely Disney nerds, Disney adults. We just didn't want to spend loads on toys and getting it home as well. As I said, we flew, we only had one suitcase, and we were already pushing our limit at that weight limit already. There was a couple of things I really wanted to buy, so I did buy him his own blanket, because he keeps stealing my Lion King one that I bought last time I went out that sits on the sofa downstairs. He kept stealing that, so I was like, I'm gonna get you your own. So he's got a Mickey Mouse one of those. He's absolutely Toy Story mad, so I did buy him a Rex, not my Rex, this one, but a Rex plushie to go with his Woody and Buzz. We didn't get conned into buying a bubble wand. He was quite happy running after other children that had bubble wands that were happy to play with him. We just made use of what we had. I mean, he just had a birthday as well, so we had brand new toys that we did take with us that he played with, and he generally didn't mind. There was a couple of times he sort of picked something up and then sort of wandered off with it, and we were like, no, we're not buying that. So we kind of limited our time in the shop. I know there are people who go, oh, well, before we go out to Disney, we buy from Shop Disney using that 50, because you get 15% discount if you do buy your trip through Disney, and you get a Shop Disney discount code. They were like, oh, we bought all of the toys on Shop Disney for half the price, and packed them in the suitcase and then brought them out on the day as if they were brand new, bought here. Yeah, if you need to do that to sort of satisfy your child's need to have new things, if you know, I'm quite a materialist person. I am not saying you know, that's a bad thing to do, because I definitely wanted to buy every single loungefly that I came across. And had to have absolute restraint in that manner. People, you know, so I'm very much like, I want that, I want this, I want that, and I know kids can be very impulsive in that as well. So if that's something that you want to try and do, then do that. We just didn't have the suitcase for it. Trying to pack, I mean, at one point we were like, we're going to take Buzz and Woody. Yeah, we'll take Buzz and Woody. Buzz doesn't fit in anything. Buzz is the most awkward toy I've ever come across. Doesn't actually fit in anything. So we took Woody because he folds. He literally folds in half, and then his hat slides in. I think that's it. Do leave in, like, please, like, interact with this video with your comments and let me know, have you gone out with a toddler? Are you planning a trip to go out with a toddler? Like, is there something that I've missed that you really want to know? There are so many like tips that I could give you about going to Disney. This is already a really long video of me waffling on about how we went to Disney with our toddler. Honestly, everything we could do, you could do, and it not work for you. This is just what worked for us. So tell us, what did work for you? Did anything I say not work? Please don't be mad at me if it didn't. But essentially, just, yeah, please let me know. What else do you want me to go over? Do you want more content like this? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you if you have watched our entire vlog series of our latest trip, or any of our other series as well. Please do consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. I hope to bring you more content over the summer. I've got a few videos lined up, including next week I am doing a video on a staycation of us staying in a castle near the beach. Not quite a Disney castle, but still a castle. So please do check out that video next week. Thank you so much. Bye.